y'all, and welcome to my channel. On this page, I talk about technology and money. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. And if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. If you are watching now or in the future, I ask if you can consider liking and sharing the video. Liking and sharing the video helps this content get out into the algorithm. It's you telling the algorithm that you find this information useful and helpful. And then number two, it encourages me to continue creating content that you all find interesting, helpful, and engaging. And I do want to take I did this in the last video I posted on Monday, but I wanted to say again, thank you all again for 500 plus subscribers and everyone who continues to support this content. Share it with your technology colleagues, your nursing colleagues, or people you think this who may find this information helpful. I really do appreciate it. So today I wanted to do a quick video, something I came across on TikTok about new nurses and this conversation, this growing conversation that new nurses are soft or new nurses are becoming soft. And it's all rooted in this video on TikTok. And I'm going to play the video. It is about 3 minutes. I know just to give you all a warning, it is a little bit of a longer video, but I do want to play the video in entirety. And then here, let me share my screen. And then I'm going to have a quick conversation about it because I'm not going to front. This video did bother me. And I see things and, I'll scroll past them and I'm like, oh, because you choose to engage, right? But this one I'm not going to front. It made me feel a little bit of a way. So I'm going to, hopefully y'all can see that because I'm doing one screen tonight. Today, let's do this. Let's just share the whole screen. Y'all bear with me, please. I'll do, struggling. There we go. Okay, take that away. And then I'm going to make this large. I'm going to play this video in its entirety and then have a conversation about new nurses becoming soft, or are new nurses soft or becoming soft? Okay. And hopefully you all can hear that. You can hear. Okay, here we go. Oh, let me pause. This is a nurse content creator on TikTok. She is an older nurse. She makes that clear. She does have ER experience. I didn't catch what her specialty is now. So now let's play the video.
Nurses, you guys got me up this morning, putting my makeup on and getting dressed before I did my hair. And I usually don't do that. Do not let me come on this app one more time and find one of y'all on here crying and carrying on about nursing. Nursing ain't never been easy. We have never been able to take breaks. Why do you think scrubs have all them pockets in it? 2 pockets in the front. Scrub jackets got pockets inside. Scrub jackets got pockets on the outside. It's for food because we never got a lunch. We just didn't cry about it all the time. Some of you young nurses got me wishing I would die before I get to the hospital because I cannot believe the nonsense, okay? Nursing is not about you. Let me tell you something. Yes, assignments are not fair. They have always been underrated.
And if you're just coming in, please do like the video and then share this as well. Okay, let's get back to this. We're about 1 minute in, about 2 minutes ago.
Whatever. We have too many patients. Okay? Always been that way. Let me tell you something. They did it to me. I was in the ER and not long ago, so don't y'all be thinking I'm just on here talking about what I don't know about because I'm on my way to work now. I can see patients. Okay? All right. So they tell me I got to see a patient. Gave me what they called an internal waiting room. Had 16 patients in it. Then they're going to tell me they're going to send me somebody who got an abdominal aortic aneurysm that's about 6 centimeters. And his blood pressure is 210 over 100 and whatever. And then they're going to send me over a suicidal nurse who's been cleared medically, but she's waiting do not take report. I already had enough patients. I'm not taking them. The doctor, the guy in the ER said, well, then she can go home if she's not going to take them. I said, who do you want me to give report to? Okay? Because you're not going to make me lose my license. That's between me and the state of California. I'm not taking it. Okay, guess what happened? They figured out a way to put that man in a room someplace, and Miss Nursey Nurse got put over to mental health where she needed to be. Okay? I don't want to have a whole bunch of y'all in mental health. So y'all better listen. Stop it. You are nurses. You are the face of healthcare. We have always been the ones saving lives and never got the press conference. We have always been the ones that get berated and they thank the doctors for saving their lives. But you know what? We went home because we knew who did the job. It ain't about all that trophy. We ain't getting a trophy. We just know we did a good job. Stop it, nurses. You're making me tired getting on here seeing y'all crying every morning. I'm done. Love you. Bye. Nurses.
Okay. Let me just pause there. Gather myself. All right, y'all. Let's see. Let's get this straight here. Bear with me. Okay. All right. Again, I'm going to try to make this. I saw the video this morning. I had to stop. I'm not going to lie. It got to me a little bit. And I'm just going to share a few thoughts on my own. I just want to make that really clear. And when I say, for me, when I say nurses, I'm talking about registered nurses, licensed practical nurses, certified nursing assistants. I don't discriminate because nurses in all backgrounds and levels and specialties make a difference. So this video is given very much to me, very much bullying. An experienced nurse bullying down to new nurses. That was my first very response. The finger pointing, the yelling, the not frantic, but the very loud talking. But let's just acknowledge some things. For me, I'm just acknowledging some things. Like burnout is really real. Okay. Now she did say she's a nurse. I believe she is a nurse practitioner. She did say what state that she practices in. And she has worked in the emergency room, which we know the emergency room. If you've never been a nurse working in the emergency room, that is a very high stress level with a lot of high churn or high patient flow. I mean, other areas, are high stress and could have high churn, but the ER sees it all because you never know what's going to walk through the door. Okay. If you work in an inpatient unit, like say med surg, oncology, OB, GYN, urology, for the most part, there is a control over the type of patient that's going to come into your unit. You may get some off-service patients, like say if you're urology, you may see a medicine patient, etc. But for the most part, you see patients within the practice, within the specialty that you're practicing in. But emergency room nurses see it all. Okay. Let's not act like burnout is not really real. And I think what this nurse content creator is missing out on, is out of touch with, is that people emote in different ways. Like how I emote about how I may be frustrated about the work that I do. I'm a registered nurse working in tech. I actually work at a tech company. How I emote about my stressful days or how I'm feeling, it may not be how you emote. Okay. And for me to say to another nurse how they emote is wrong, that's not my place. It's not my place to say how you emote, how you express yourself, how something is impacting you is not right. That's not my place, because your experience is your experience. Mine is mine. And it is disingenuous for me to say that you're not allowed to do that. Also, we are human beings caring for human beings. Okay. And the last 3 years on nursing as a practice, I'm just talking very generally, has been very challenging and difficult for nurses in all specialties. I don't know a nurse and I know nurses who work in all types of specialties: cybersecurity, bedside, hospital leadership, insurance company. I know nurses working in startups. I know nurses who own their own companies. I know a nurse who works in tech who owns her own tech consulting company. I don't know a nurse who hasn't worked over the past 3 years, who has not said for the specialty and the work that they're doing has not been challenging. I know for me working in tech, it has been extremely challenging. And let's not forget about outside of our work, we have also had to live our lives at the same time. Let's not, on top of if you're in the hospital and working bedside, the pandemic, abusive patients, workplace violence, supply chain issues. What have you ever worked a shift in the bedside in the hospital and there's no linen? And just if you go to the linen closet and on top of everything else, there's no clean sheets and towels, that just might push you over the edge, right? It could just be a lot, right? And what happened to nurses, being healthcare heroes, right? So I have seen the nurses on social media, TikTok, Instagram. Again, I've said before, I'm not that really big on Facebook. I've seen nurses emoting and crying and, just being frustrated, dealing with everything that they have had to deal with over the past 2 or 3 years. Now, before pre-2020, I didn't see that, right? But of course, there has been a lot of that. Just nurses, sharing their experiences. And I've talked about over the past 2-3 years how nursing as a profession and us being able to connect with each other online through social media and also reach the public in ways we've never been able to reach has just increased exponentially over the past 2 to 3 years. So much. And one of the biggest examples, and I keep going back to this, is what Nurse Blake did earlier this year. We're taking all of those nurses up to Chicago and showing up at the Joint Commission headquarters. That's one of the biggest stories of nursing this in 2022, and our reach and our ability to connect with each other and share and talk about our shared experiences and mobilize and using social media as that platform. Now, those nurses emoting and doing that, I don't see anything wrong with them coming online, expressing themselves. Number one, as long as it's not on the clock. Right? Because when you're at work, you're not supposed to be creating content, especially posting content. That's number one. I do firmly believe in that. Number two, not identifying what facility that you're working at, whether that's not showing your badge or talking about, I had this, there was a traumatic GSW event in my ER 2 hours ago, because that could potentially be, reveal protected patient information. And then number three, or doing it in front of patients, right? If you need to, I as a nurse working in the bedside, I have gone into a private place and, and express myself. I know plenty of nurses who have done that. I feel like it's not appropriate to do in front of the patients. If you can't control yourself and it happens to happen, you're human. But for the most part, I feel like, complaining about what, your facility or the staffing, et cetera, in front of patients who are sick and who whatever's happening in your facility, that's not the patient's fault. That's out of their control, and putting it onto the patient and I don't think that's the right thing to do. So those are the only 3 exceptions off the top of my mind that I can think where it would be not appropriate for a nurse to emote like that online. So I got 2 key takeaways from that. A quick story time, when I started working in tech 19 years ago, and I do have a comment I want to share. When I started working in tech 19 years ago, technology operations, and it was literally like going from nursing school to the floor. It was complete, very steep learning curve. And I had to, because it was a technology company, pure healthcare technology operations, and we had to support clinical system. So like the electronic health record, things like that. So the team that I was on, it was all nurses who in tech, all of them who were experienced. Mind you, this was 2003. All of them were 2003, 2004. All of them were experienced, and we all had to do on-call for the systems that we supported. My on-call orientation was 24 hours, 7 days a week, 7 days straight, nights and days. I was on call from Monday morning, 8 a.m. to the next Monday morning, 8 a.m., 24 hours, handled all the calls for the hospital day and night, and was expected to come into the office at 8 a.m. the next day, no matter how late I had been up the night before. It was hell on wheels. It was absolutely horrible. And I would never, because I experienced that. So going back to what this nurse was saying in this video, well, I did it, and we weren't treated well, and we took whatever we took. Just because you experienced it as an inexperienced nurse, or I experienced it, doesn't mean that it's okay for other nurses to take that. Back then, I didn't know any better. So, but because I had that experience, I would not want that for a newer nurse to experience that. So for her to say, well, I did it, and I took the bullying from, whatever she took and didn't get to eat, blah, 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 doesn't mean that it was right. And that is not okay for these nurses to say, so that nurse's video made me feel away. So ACD for educational consultant. Our new nurses offers nursing education and the healthcare system not providing opportunities for nurses to build strong skills. Okay, exactly, right? Which goes in, that's a great segue. I'm going to share my screen one more time, and then I'm going to wrap up with some final thoughts. That's a great segue into, because you guys know I have talked about Becker's in the past. So I came across this article last week, but I feel like it's tied very appropriately to what this older experienced nurse, who is, she's a senior nurse, she's in a specialty, she has her master's degree. But what Becker's talked to 7 chief nursing officers about nurse well-being. And I feel like what nurses are doing in expressing themselves and building community and sharing their shared experiences is tied into nurse well-being. Well, if nurses are online crying about how tough their shifts are or what they're experiencing, and it's frustrating to them, to me, that speaks to their well-being and their emotional health, right? Because we have to be healthy as nurses to care for sick patients and care for the public, right? Whether that's emotional health or physical health, or not having, coming in sick, whether mentally or physically, if we have a cold, or, we're not able to live because there are back issues, etc. So nurse well-being is very important, so much so. So I love the comment that ACD4N just said, giving nurses those skills around their well-being and not underscoring how important it is. So Becker's interviewed 7 chief nurse officers, and I won't read through all of, what their feedback was, but I did pick up on a few things. And so they interviewed 7 CNOs to get their what they thought about nurse well-being and then retention. And so the article starts with supported nurses and promoting their well-being was a top priority for chief nursing officers this year amid workforce shortages and ongoing pandemic stressors, which is why I put that in the title, because I think what we're seeing with nurses emoting online, regardless of everything else that's happening in healthcare, nurses are frustrated because of whatever is going on in their facility or where they're working, or combined, not including what's going on in their life, right? Because life doesn't stop just because you had a tough day at work. The pandemic and the stresses that go along with it, it just weighs down a little bit more heavily on the profession and those who are working in different areas. So this chief nursing officer at this health system in South Dakota made a point. So she said that as we continue to face unprecedented challenges in healthcare, including a chronic nursing workforce shortage, we are leveraging technology, predictive analytics, and automation. Y'all know I've talked about tech and analytics and automation and robotics, etc., to support our nursing workforce and the patients, residents, and communities we serve. There was something about the well-being. Here we go. As nurses, this is a nurse officer from the Mayo Clinic out in Minnesota. We spend an incredible amount of time with the people we work with, and investing time in those relationships is one of the most important aspects of my role. With the dynamics that are challenging nursing and healthcare, this has become more and more challenging, but also more and more important. Caring is the foundation of nursing practice. Comforting people and families that are suffering, grieving, fighting for hope and healing is mentally, physically, and emotionally exhausting. This is the key comment. And as always, I'll be sure to leave a link to this article if you all want to see what these other CNOs had to say about well-being. But well-being and nurses' emotional health and mental well-being is so important that the American Nursing Association, has a whole what do you call it? Educational initiative around like mental and emotional well-being. It's very important. Do nurses need other things like ensuring that there's appropriate staffing, adequate, sufficient pay, etc.? Yes, but for older nurses and experienced nurses to come online and just yell and point down and talk down to nurses because they're mentally, emotionally exhausted, it's just not right. It's very much, to me. Okay, now for my key takeaways, because I just want to I want to catch myself and not, because it really did make me feel a way to see that article. But my key takeaway is that is number one, the compassion, right? Where is the compassion? We just can't forget about that, we not only have to have compassion for our patients and compassion for our coworkers, but compassion for ourselves and for those who may be having a tough day, right? So that's number one, and we just can't forget about that. So that's why I feel like I saw this video and I was reading through the comments and I was like, oh my God, these nurses, this is just another way to me that experienced nurses are bullying like younger nurses, inexperienced nurses. It's like to say, you can't cry. It's like saying there's no crying in baseball. And I love the Batter Up, the movie with the not Steel Magnolias, but the movie about the all women baseball team. And he's like, and Tom Hanks is like, there's no crying in baseball. Well, it gets tough. We all have tough days, and we just can't forget about the compassion. Then number two, your For You page is for you. If you're seeing something, if this experienced nurse and these other nurses and these nurse practitioners, and I'm seeing these nurse leaders, you know what? There was a nurse leader on LinkedIn. They ate him up. I didn't write this in my notes, but there was a nurse leader on LinkedIn, and I wish I had a link to that article. Not article, but his post on LinkedIn. And he made a post. This was like around earlier this summer, and he made a post on LinkedIn about travel nurses and the pay that they were getting and nurses taking advantage. They ate him up in the comment. He may have ended up deleting it. But anyway, that post had hundreds of comments. And when I watched that TikTok video of this nurse practitioner and read through the comments, and now I'm thinking back to that nurse leader and him making the comments about nurses taking advantage of the system and, with the pay. He was very derogatory, very, very, very much giving punch down. And I don't like punch down energy. I just don't like it. So if you see something like, if this nurse is seeing, or these experienced nurses are seeing nurses, upset, emotional, talking about their tough shifts, experiences and building community around that. If you don't want to see that, number one, you can scroll. Number two, you can click not interested. But your FYP is just that for you. So for her to be seeing that, something in the algorithm is picking up on what she's seeing. That's number two. And then number three, if she's seeing that, or other experienced nurses are seeing that, and they have the capacity to help, instead of punching down, why not reach out to those younger nurses or leave an encouraging comment? Or if you don't want to do that, send an encouraging message. And you don't have to necessarily give a solution, but just to say, yeah, I know your day was difficult, but give a kind word instead of a punch down, right? Because punching down ain't ever it, especially on mental health. And then she even talked about in that TikTok about a nurse who was suicidal, that was a psychiatric hold and waiting for a behavioral health, was a behavioral health hold and waiting for a behavioral health bed. Well, clearly, if that nurse is in an emergency department and having a mental health, behavioral health crisis and they're suicidal, it's because they need it. So getting on the internet and punching down on that in that situation, it just ain't it. Y'all, that thing got me kind of fired up. But okay, so just two more comments. Many of the older seasoned nurses know that they feel powerless themselves, and that's it, right? And that is it. So it's just almost like, well, I experienced something bad and I went through it, and so you and I didn't say anything about it, or maybe I did and nothing changed, so you should just take it and shut up about it. It's very much given that. And then there are more and more non-healthcare persons in leadership positions telling nurses what to do. You know what? That would be a great video for another day. Definitely something to consider, especially as healthcare is, because it is very much business. It is healthcare is very much, about healing, but it's also a business, right? And there are operating margins and budgets to adhere to, but there are also CEO salaries and things like that, which I won't get into today. That's it, y'all. If you're watching this from the future and you made it this far, please do like this video. And if you found this topic, this conversation interesting, engaging, please leave a comment below. Share it with your nursing friends, or even your tech friends, or even non-nursing people, because I feel like it's definitely something that can take a continued conversation, and for people who feel a certain way, to just be reminded of a few things with love and not in a punch down way. That's it, y'all. I'll see you in the next video.